everybody, what's up? Ultramag64 here, and welcome to my Spoilercast for the My Little Pony movie. Now, with that being said, I will say this, if you haven't seen the movie yet, then you probably shouldn't be watching this video, because I'm going to be talking a whole lot of spoilers. If you're not okay with that, then go ahead and get the heck out of here, and come back once you've seen the movie. And before I get into things, I would like to say, I would highly suggest you go watch this movie. It is a very good movie, and I really enjoyed it. If you see it for nothing else, see it for the visuals, because the visuals are breathtaking. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this pastel-colored pony movie that is the My Little Pony movie. For starters, before I get into any of my problems with the movie, I want to say this. The visuals in the movie and the animation in general are breathtaking. The My Little Pony movie combines 3D backgrounds with 2D characters, and it looks phenomenal. The visuals really show what Harmony is capable of. And I have to say, I'm quite impressed. From the sweeping camera motions to the very fluid and smooth character animations, everything just looks and moves beautifully. And honestly, I kind of wish the show could be animated in this way. I feel like it'd be really neat to see. Unfortunately, this movie probably cost way more than the show has budget for, but I'd like to see them add a few things aesthetically from the movie into the show, such as the way the ears work. The concaveness of the ears give it a lot more depth, and the little hoovesies are different than the way they are in the show. I wouldn't mind seeing the little heart hoove things in the show proper. I think that'd be really cool to see. The 3D backgrounds and whatnot allow for a lot more interesting camera angles and a lot more sweeping panning shots, and it just gives the movie such a wonderful flow and wonderful momentum to it. Momentum? Sure, why not? Let's go for momentum, because I can. Not only that, but compared to the show, this is a massive step up. You can tell that they knew this was going to be in theaters. They couldn't just release an episode. They had to step it up a notch. And boy, did everyone bring their A++ game to this movie. For the most part. But not only are the visuals fantastic, the audio is also fantastic. All the voice actors reprise their roles from the show, and Daniel Ingram also composes all the music for the movie. And man, did he bring his A-game. Now, granted, not every song is a standout classic, but my particular favorite was Tempest Shadow's Open Your Eyes. I really enjoyed that tune and found it very catchy. Although hint Hasbroni, I would love to see you add those instrumental tracks to your soundtracks. Don't get me wrong, I love my vocal soundtracks, but seriously, like, the soundtrack in the My Little Pony movie, the instrumental bits at least, are really cool and really enjoyable, and I'd love to hear them more. Or at least instrumental reprises of the vocal tracks. That'd be really cool to have. Just food for thought. Now, if I had to say one thing about the visuals that's kind of irked me a tad bit, now granted, keep in mind I've only watched this movie once, so don't expect a deep dive because I'm just running this off of memory. And before you say it, no, I'm not going to watch it online. I prefer to support my creative people and not pirate their work. And before you give me that spiel about how you can't see it where you are, well, let me just say this, I'm pretty sure you can since it's a theatrical release. Now, I understand those of you who don't feel comfortable enough to go see it in theaters. That's completely fine. However, I would suggest you buy the Blu-ray, DVD, or digital download from Google Play or iTunes or whatever service you use to support the show and support the movie. Hasbro's got a lot riding on this, and well, it isn't our responsibility to buy things for this movie, but if we don't support the things we love, they might not be around much longer. And plus, if that happens, then we probably won't see a sequel to this movie, which I would actually really enjoy. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the movie and the problems I had with it. Now, for everything the visuals do phenomenally, the story somewhat falls short. Now, the movie is only 99 minutes in runtime, and now while 99 minutes is a little bit longer than your average MLP episode, it is kind of short in terms of theatrical releases, topping out at about an hour and 40 minutes. And I will contribute this probably to the 2D animation. Again, I don't work on the production staff, but that 2D animation isn't cheap. But I'll take that over a 3D rendered animation any day. I feel like the ponies actually suit better for 2D, in my opinion. Even though some source filmmaker projects are fantastic. But anyway, I'm getting a tad sidetracked. Let's talk about the things I didn't like about this movie. So for one thing, the pacing is a tad fast. It's not horrible, but it is noticeable. Now don't get me wrong, the movie starts off strong with a party happening and then chaos reigns from above, which, by the way, Dissy, we missed you at the movie premiere. Where were you, bud? It didn't feel like we got enough time with a few of the characters that we had. In fact, many of them don't feel very memorable, if you're asking my simple opinion. In fact, for me, it's kind of hard to remember their names at this point in time. I'm actually gonna have to look up a few of them. For starters, Captain Cell, also known as a parrot, and also whose name I can't properly pronounce, so I'm not gonna try. But anyway, Captain Cell feels like the most underdeveloped and, honestly, the most interesting design-wise for me. I really did dig the pirate parrot look, and it was really cool, but they barely got any screen time. And also, a few others didn't get much screen time either, but I'll get to that in a sec. Another character that I enjoyed was Capper. Capper was really cool, even if he did kind of come off as slightly generic, but considering the runtime, I'm not that upset about it. I just kind of wish we had more time. Queen Nonovo was there, and that's it. And then we have Princess Skystar, which I actually enjoyed. Granted, she's a bit of a Pinkie Pie, but I really did like her. Though I'm not sure for how long I would enjoy being in her company. She's a little too spastic for my liking. But maybe, just maybe, we'll see an episode about her, and I'll get to that in a sec. But by far, my favorite character was Tempest Shadow. And she definitely steals the show in a lot of ways, although there's one other character that, ruins almost every scene he's in, and that's Grubber. I have never hated a character so badly as I hate Grubber. He doesn't contribute anything to the movie at all. Ever. He's just there, and honestly, if they'd cut him out of the movie, I probably wouldn't have cared. Honestly, I'm not sure why they added him in here, considering we have Pinkie Pie being comic relief. But, I guess they needed more comic relief. Maybe if we saved the budget animating him, we could have had a longer movie. I don't know. I just really, really hated Grubber. Now, another underutilized character, and honestly I'm not sure why she's in this, is Songbird Serenade. Don't get me wrong, I dig her design. It's really, really cool, and Sia is, I suppose, a popular singer? I honestly don't know. I don't follow music that well. But one thing that kind of stuck out to me is that she didn't really do much or contribute to the story at all. She sung part of a song, said a few words, and then sung a song, and that's kind of it. Honestly, I would have preferred to see them do something with that character. Now granted, I'm not sure how much it costs to have Sia voice act a character. Probably a lot if you had to ask me. But I wonder if we didn't want to cut her out, because obviously marketing and whatnot kind of falls into that. It's kind of an odd thing that movies feel like they need to have some sort of celebrity guest star sing or do something special in the movie to market it and get more hype around it. We saw this with Zootopia and another pop star whose name I've forgotten, and honestly, meh. But if you notice, she didn't have many lines in the movie either, or really contribute at all either. Now, this could be down to contracts or what have you, behind the scenes things, inside baseball, all that jazz. But here's the thing. I feel like if we're going to add a character that's a celebrity, why not give them something to do in our story? We saw this with Cheese Sandwich in the My Little Pony show, so why not with Songbird Serenade in the movie? Now, granted, she didn't have to voice or anything like that. She didn't have to steal the spotlight, but one thing that she could have done during the climax of the movie when the pirate parrots decide to burst out of the cake, she could have taken that time to try and burst out of her cage and lead a rebellion in the background. It would have been interesting and would have been at least doing something to contribute to the story and help out the main 6 fight against the Storm King, but unfortunately that just didn't happen. Again, I'm not saying she needed to steal the spotlight or become a main character or whatever, but it would have been a nice thing to see in the background, her fighting off the Storm King's minions and whatnot, with a horde of ponies behind her. And let's talk about the Storm King. Oh, goody gumdrops. How much do you like generic villains that don't have any proper motivation? What's that? I hear someone yelling Sombra in the background, huh? You know, I don't remember that pony. I feel like they had a really cool design, but then nothing was done with them except in the comics. Huh. Well, I hope you're in for a surprise, because guess what? The Storm King does exactly that. The Storm King has no real motivation for taking over Equestria. It's never stated. He just kind of shows up and is like, hey, I want to take over the world. Why? Why do you want to do this? It doesn't make sense. Like why? You just want to be a tyrant? Okay, give us a reason why you want to be a tyrant. I mean, we literally get nothing. Now, granted, I have not read the prequel comics for the My Little Pony movie that were released before the movie, but we never get any development for this guy or reason as to why he wants to take over the world and what he's really going to do. He just kind of says, I'm going to make a big storm. But why? You're wanting to take over the world to make a big storm, but why? What does that do? Does that feed you somehow? Is your very being made up of different storms and natural disasters? Is that the reason you want to take over? Why? Why? We never get answers. I mean, granted, he dies in the end, so whatever, clean slate, everything goes back to normal, but still, why? I mean, at least Tempest had a, reason to do the things she did. Kind of. Now, granted, I might not be remembering this correctly, but in the movie, Tempest, the reason she lost her horn and got a scar on her eye was because her ball went to Ursa Minor cave, and she went to go get it, and then the Ursa Minor just wrecked her day. And then she blames her friends for not helping her when she went in there alone. Granted, her friends probably didn't want to come in there anyway, but she should have been like, yeah, that sign says danger, and there's a bunch of Ursa Minor stuff over here. That ball's probably not worth my life. Let's go get another ball. Mo, she does bring up an interesting point, and I think that would have been kind of an interesting thing to have the Storm King or her discuss and give kind of a reason as to why they want to take over Equestria. She says that, the ponies use their magic. They have this copious amounts of magic. They can control, literally, the celestial bodies. And yet, they're using all this magic and all this power to throw parties. Huh. Seems kind of pointless. And also dumb. Waste of power, isn't it? And I think that would have been a really cool motive for the Storm King. Be like, hey, I can run Equestria better than you can. I'm a tyrant, and I'll take it by force, but I bet you I can run it better than you. It would have been interesting to see the Storm King or Tempest double-cross somebody and do that, but unfortunately we don't get that. Now let's talk about the main 6. They are, without a doubt, the ones we see the most in the movie. Next to Tempest, I suppose. But it just feels kind of odd. I'm not sure. Pinkie Pie kind of steals the spotlight in a lot of the scenes and whatnot. In fact, some ponies don't even get very much screen time. Hi there, Fluttershy. Now, don't get me wrong, I love me my Pinkie Pie, but she kind of felt like she was stealing the spotlight for the rest of the main 6, except for Twilight. And one thing that kind of bugged me was the second arc, All Hope is Lost scene that every movie kind of has to have. And honestly, I kind of wish the writers had done something different for this part, but anyway, we have a scene where Twilight tries to steal the magical MacGuffin Pearl that changes ponies into, I guess, anything? But they just happen to want to turn into seahorses? I mean, I don't know. Why not? Hippogriffs, I guess. You want to be seahorses? That's fine. Hippogriffs are kind of cooler, though. But, anyway, She tries to steal it and is unsuccessful and is banished from Sequestria. Or, in my opinion, Aquaestria. Point is, they're banished. And Pinkie Pie's like, dude, we were working on it. We were making a song and dance, and we were turning the queen around, and you just had to screw it all up. Good job. Twilight's rebuttal is basically like, well, you know, I'm trying to do my best for all of Equestria, and I needed that orb, and blah, 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 blah. But one thing I would have liked to see them tackle differently would have been, well, you guys didn't have to come. You sat here and led our enemy right to our doorstep several times. Thanks, Rainbow, for the sonic rain boom that led the enemy to our camp. Thanks, Pinkie Pie, for getting us all almost sold into slavery in Capper's little slice of heaven. Honestly, this probably would have clued the audience in better as to why Twilight was so frustrated. Not only had she lost basically her entire kingdom in one foul swoop, but her friends had, by accident, mostly, had led the enemy to their doorstep at every turn, making it very hard to stay ahead of the enemy. I could understand why Twilight was frustrated, and I will say that was a bit of clever writing. The fact that Twilight kind of just told them, look, I need to be alone right now. And Pinkie also said that I don't want to talk to you right now. It didn't say that, like, oh man, we're not friends anymore. I mean, friends have fights all the time. But it at least gave them a little bit of a reprise, although I will say this trope is just that, a trope. I kind of wish they'd done something a little bit more clever or different to have Twilight be captured. And it also felt like they weren't really that far from Equestria. Or, not Equestria, but Canterlot, because, I mean, it took Tempest, like, a minute of singing, and they were back in Canterlot! I mean, how far did we go, guys? Went to the Badlands. That's a considerable distance. I mean, unless airships just travel really fast, and I just don't know about it. I mean, that's a possibility, I suppose. But, nonetheless, I was really surprised by how much distance we traveled in, like, you know, a short bit. But, again, I think that's due more to pacing than anything else. And then, as we head towards the climax, we get a big old fight scene, and I gotta be honest, guys, is nothing really gonna top that Tyrek fight? I mean, seriously, like, Storm King and Twilight didn't really fight, nor did Tempest and Twilight really duke it out. I was honestly surprised by that, considering we have merchandise of Twilight and Tempest fighting it out and using magics and stuff. I think it would have been cool to see, especially in this animation, but unfortunately we really didn't get that. The ending kind of just felt a little bit anticlimactic and honestly a tad hard to follow. Now, granted, again, I've only watched this once, and honestly, I couldn't tell you what happened at the end. Basically, Storm King gets this staff of power, draining the princesses of all their magical bits, which, I kind of thought Tyrek was doing that, but, you know, whatever. And he literally gains the ability to raise and lower the sun, yada yada yada, and then they fight, and stuff happens. And then the stick goes in the air, and Twilight goes in the air, but I thought that Storm King went in the air, but no, he didn't. But what? What? Now again, that is a little bit of a rundown, and honestly, I kind of lost track of what was happening at the end of it, but it just felt kind of odd, and felt like we were being rushed to try and finish everything up. And that's my overall take on the My Little Pony movie, is the visuals are fantastic, the music and composition is fantastic, the characters are the ones we know and love from the show, and it's a movie for the fans, pretty much. I mean, this isn't an origin story, this is just a continuation of the My Little Pony series. In fact, it actually takes place between Season 7 and Season 8. putting it canonically in the show's timeline. But the writing kind of falls flat. Now, granted, I've heard that these characters are going to appear in the show proper at some point, in some way, shape, or form. I doubt we're going to see Sia reappear anytime soon, but who knows, maybe. But I kind of wish we got to know these characters a little bit better, especially Captain Solano. She was really kind of cool, and I liked her crew's designs, but we barely got any motivation or character development for her. Same with a lot of the Equestrians. Not a whole lot of development happened. Capper probably got the most out of all of them, and that's not saying much. We kind of learned he's a generic thief, and that's about it. Granted, he had a cute little redemption, and he did pull one over on Tempest, but, I mean, that's pretty much it. And I will say that Tempest probably is my favorite out of all the new characters. I love her design, and honestly, she did have a bit of a threatening aura about her. And I really did like that. Now, overall, the movie's theme is basically be careful of who you trust, and don't give up on trusting your friends and whatnot. It's a solid lesson to have, although I will say the movie kind of sort of beats your head in with it. Not to the extent of being groan-worthy, but you could definitely tell that's where the movie was trying to lead you. But overall, I still say give the movie a watch. It's a solid, enjoyable movie, if a little bit flawed. And hopefully we see a sequel sometime in the future, because I love the animation this movie has, and I really hope it succeeds. And yes, I do plan on buying the movie once it's released on Blu-ray and digital download. And who knows, perhaps with multiple viewings, I'll find subtle tiny things that really sweeten the movie for me. But for my initial impressions, I will say that the visuals are fantastic, the audio is fantastic, but the story falls flat. But anyway guys, if you disagree or agree with me, let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, then hit the like button. If you didn't like it, well, tell me why. But anyway guys, I'm Ultramag64. Remember, pwn carefully my friends, and tell me, did you enjoy the movie in the comments below? Or have you not seen it yet? And I will catch you on the flip side with more crazy content in the future. Bye-bye.
Mafia alone, you monster! Here, if Mafia give you this, will you go away?
Your cooking is bad, and you're a bad person. Now let me go!
That darn seagull over there took my camera. I would have gone and done a belly dive over there. But this belly's too precious for sliding on.